First this morning, breaking news from overnight in Westminster. 2 people are in the hospital after a chase ended in a crash. Good morning, I'm Corey Rose.
And I'm Jordan Chavez. This all started in Westminster and ended in Denver. 9 News reporter Brianna Fernandez is gathering more information for us this morning. She is live where this all started at that location in Westminster. Brianna, we've just been told that you've been able to speak to someone who knows the suspect.
Yeah, and you're going to hear from her in just a couple of seconds, actually. So we know that this all unfolded around 10:15 late last night. So we know Westminster was called out here to the Comfort Suites along 120th and Delaware. They said that they got a call about a disturbance involving a man wanted for several felony warrants. Now that woman, Jordan, like you mentioned, I just spoke to her. She says she is the suspect's girlfriend and her car was the one involved in the chase. Take a listen.
When I came back, I asked him, I said, is my truck still outside? And he goes, no, your truck's not outside. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, your bumper's outside. At this point in time, I'm like, I have no idea where my boyfriend is. I have no idea where my truck is. I know that my bumper's sitting outside the hotel. Have no idea anything has even gone on.
Comfort Suites outside of the Comfort Suites hotel. So we also got cell phone video of the police activity that was happening here late last night. So when officers arrived, they tried to make contact with the suspect. That's when the suspect tried to run over officers, hit a patrol car, and then left the scene. So then a chase started here outside of the Comfort Suites and ended almost 20 minutes away in Denver near I-70 and 225. So Denver police actually had to close down the westbound lanes of I-70 and Chambers around midnight. The suspect crashed into another car during the chase. One person plus the suspect were taken to the hospital and are expected to be okay. Now back out here live, we know no officers were injured. That's according to the Westminster Police Department. We also know from a lot of viewers who had called in and said that this chase was happening along I-70. They noticed that police and the suspect were going on the wrong way along I-70. So we actually contacted Westminster Police to see if that information is accurate since they were going on the opposite directions of I-70. We have yet to hear back. The last information that we got from Westminster Police was actually at 3 a.m. when they posted all of this on social media. So, of course, still pushing for some of these answers. And once we get more information, we'll definitely keep you updated both on air as well as online. For now, I'm live here outside of the Comfort Suites in Westminster. Brianna Fernandez for 9 News.
Brianna, thank you so much for your reporting this morning. Right now, we are dealing with a mess on our roads. A live look from CDOT out here at the crash we're following on northbound I-25 right at Highway 7 Baseline Road this morning. As you can see, we are down to only one right lane open and moving. We've got fire crews and police officers out here. Still a very active and busy scene. We're seeing actually a bunch of people standing on the far left-hand side of the interstate out that way. Again, northbound I-25. So if you're leaving Westminster headed up toward Broomfield, Lafayette, crossing over 470. That is where this is. And check out the delays behind it. Northbound I-25 is a parking lot here at Northwest Parkway this morning. So we're seeing some significant slowdowns already. Of course, we're going from 3 lanes down to 1. That's a mess. Let's take you over to our map this morning. So from about 144th Avenue headed up toward Highway 7 is where it's going to be the slowest for you. Washington Street runs parallel to the interstate. I'm going to throw that one out there as a workaround. Colorado could be as well this morning. So just something to think about if you're getting ready to head that way. I don't want you to get stuck on the interstate parking lot right now that we're looking at. 5-minute backup coming into Commerce City on westbound 76. So not too bad there. Much improvement on southbound 225. Only about a 5-minute slowdown here between Parker Road and I-25 this morning.
Taking a live look outside this morning, we got a beautiful sunrise. Taking a look from our camera over Horsetooth Reservoir this morning. Getting ready for a very nice day out there. We're talking record-setting temperatures even.
That is just absolutely beautiful. By the way, enjoy the sun this morning because cloud cover is going to come in later today, which is going to be different than what we've seen the last few days. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen is joining us right now. I can't believe we're talking about potentially record-breaking temps today.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't seem right. We usually don't break this graphic out this early where you see the potential record heat here coming. The record for today is 78 degrees. That was set in 1988. And so the forecast is for 79. I think we'll at least tie that record. That cloud cover you mentioned here might be the wild card and to see if we actually do or not. We'll start out relatively clear, build those clouds as we go into the day here. And if we're going to get the job done, I think the record needs to be broken by about 2, maybe 3 o'clock at the latest here. Here's the forecast high temperatures across the rest of the area. We're going to see some 80s on the board, that's for sure. Just whether or not, if it's Denver or not, we don't know. If we do hit 80, it would be a full month earlier than normal here. And then the pattern's going to change up here starting on a Friday night. And that first storm in that pattern is going to bring a very inconvenient storm this weekend. Lots of rain and snow possible as we go into both Saturday and Sunday.
All right, Corey, thank you. Today, 2 of the 3 suspects involved in the shooting that hurt a former Broncos wide receiver is set to be in court. Police arrested Burr Charlesworth and Luis Mendoza. They're accused of following Josh Reynolds after he left a strip club, then opened fire into his car on I-25 near Colorado Boulevard. Reynolds had minor injuries. Court records show Charlesworth and Mendoza are facing attempted murder and assault charges.
This morning, a Castle Rock firefighter is recovering after officials say they fell through the floor while responding to a house fire. This happened in the area of Plum Creek Boulevard and Plum Creek Parkway around 9:40 last night. When fire crews got to the scene, they started looking for the source of the fire to see if anyone was still in the house as well. That is when one of its members fell through the floor.
One of our members partially fell through a floor, called a mayday, was able to self-extricate and self-rescue.
Luckily, that firefighter was not seriously injured. No other firefighters were injured either, and no one was in the house during the fire. Castle Rock Fire is now looking into what caused the fire.
This morning, another Southern Colorado school district is considering to only recognize 2 sexes, male and female. District 49 leaders proposed a new plan called Protecting Safety and Privacy for Boys and Girls in All School Settings. The draft emphasizes the difference between biological sex and gender identity as defined by state and federal legislation. Some people are calling this a distraction, while others say it falls in line with the recent executive orders President Trump signed.
No clear path forward, this feels performative and unnecessary. I should have been giving my attention this week to the 144-page comprehensive financial report we briefly discussed. Instead, we're dealing with what looks to me to be just a distraction.
The deal is that if the district fails to recognize and honor biological sex, we are put at risk of losing federal funding. And I really don't think President Trump is kidding around when he says that.
If the resolution passes, it would mandate that locker rooms, bathrooms, and sporting events are separated by biological sex. District 49 will talk about this resolution again next week, and they'll vote on it on April 10th. This week marks 50 years since a Boulder County clerk made history by issuing the first same-sex marriage license in the U.S.
Yeah, her legacy is still being honored at the Museum of Boulder, but activists say the fight for LGBTQ+ rights is far from over. Clela Rorex issued 6 same-sex marriage licenses in 1975 before the state shut her down, sparking both praise and backlash. Now, a U.S. Supreme Court case is challenging Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for minors, which is a practice widely discredited by medical experts. A group of Colorado therapists is leading a national petition against a Supreme Court case that could overturn the state's ban on conversion therapy for minors.
It takes fight and struggle, and we can celebrate those folks here in this exhibition as well, and sort of remind us all that the work continues.
Now, if overturned, faith-based groups could still conduct conversion therapy under religious protections. The Supreme Court is expected to take up that Colorado case in its next session. This morning, the White House is digging in, defending the government officials on that Signal group chat discussing attack plans that accidentally included a journalist.
But today, calls for an investigation are growing on both sides of the aisle. This morning, a new lawsuit accuses the officials in that group chat of violating federal record-keeping laws, pointing to the messages being set to automatically delete. None of the officials on the chat have said if they have archived the chats as is required by law. President Trump is less conclusive on what could be classified, pointing to the mission's success and saying that he wasn't involved. Meanwhile, for a second day on Capitol Hill, Democrats grilled CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who were both on the chat.
It is outrageous and it is a leadership failure.
I can't see any rationale for the kind of conversation that took place over Signal for not taking place in a more secure manner than that.
This morning, the Republican Senate Armed Services Chair is calling for an expedited Inspector General investigation. Some things we still don't know about include whether the chat was accessed on personal or government-issued devices and how the Atlantic editor-in-chief got added in the first place.
A federal judge has issued a stinging opinion denying the Trump administration's efforts to ban transgender people from serving in the military. This morning, District Court Judge Ana Reyes responded to a motion from the Justice Department asking for her to pause or dissolve the injunction that paused the ban from going into effect. In her ruling, Reyes wrote, quote, "This litigation is not about a medical condition." While Reyes denied the request to pause or dissolve her previous order, she did give the administration until 7 p.m. tomorrow to appeal.
Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is responding to Trump's newly announced auto tariffs. He's calling them a direct attack on his country and Canadian workers. Carney's comments come after Trump announced 25% tariffs on all cars imported into the United States. In remarks at a news conference, Carney said he needs to assess the details of Trump's executive order before taking retaliatory measures.
But we will take the steps that are in the interests of Canadian workers, of Canada. We are going to stand up for Canada. We're going to be united.
Auto Week estimates prices could increase between $4,000 to as much as $12,000 for some models. The president says the tariffs will begin on April 3rd and will be permanent.